I'm Julian Hanford. I'm an artist. I used to work in advertising, as he told you, as creative director, and for 6 years I spent a very, very nice lifestyle on this island for a very tiny little insignificant company you've probably never heard of. I think they had something to do with eye care, I think. As an artist, I work mainly with ideas. This is one of mine. This is called, well, at least we're safe. It's a wall installation of models encircled a framed print. For all our expensive defensive power in the West, there is always a part of it that's pointing back at us. This next one is called Ascension. This is about our transitory understanding of life and death. This is called The Dream of J. Bruce Ismay. Does anybody recognise that name? Yep. Yeah? Can you tell me who he was? Well, he was the designer. He was the man who commissioned it. And yeah, he was the chairman of the White Star Line. And once this was his dream. And as flawed and yet as perfect a dream as any. This one you might be familiar with. If you look back around the back of your sofa, it's called The Pursuit of Happiness. And if you look around the back of your, not your sofa, your TV entertainment centre these days, you'll probably get where the metaphor is here. But enough of me and my art. I'm actually here today to talk about you, eventually. So, what is art and why does it matter? WTF. We've been making marks on surfaces and things as long as we've enjoyed human consciousness. No one really knows why. Even though historians and scientists have continued to come up with plausible theories to explain this mystery, we are still pretty much in the dark as to what compels some of us to need to express ourselves in this way. As we continue to develop as a species, our ambitions to make marks developed exponentially. Art got bigger and bigger, quite literally in this case. Art has been entirely cross-cultural. Wherever we are and wherever we're from, we've created it in some form. From it became the first expressions of written language. As civilization developed and the bases of power, money and culture began their ascent, the art we created began not only to reflect that and basically communicating, the idea of communicating ideas to the masses. Even the slower developing cultures, the imperative of artist power became the accepted norm. Religions that were developing across the world, across the last 2 millennia, were very quick to seize upon the potential of this power. The power of imaginative visual representation to create and perpetuate lasting mythologies. This ultimately became an exercise in crowd control, the fear of God visualized in graphic terms, our deepest fears and anxieties made real. Doom, destruction, fire and brimstone, the wrath of the Creator. All brought to you in glorious technicolor by the world's artisan painters and sculptors, copiously funded by the spiritual leadership of the day. But art has been a tool of power in other areas of life too. The justification and glorification of war, for instance. The representation of people through portraiture, particularly the powerful and wealthy who had the gold to commission the artist, paying for their own immortality. Can this woman have ever comprehended that 500 years after she sat for Da Vinci, that 1 million people would queue around the block at a huge gallery to see her? Maybe she should negotiate a royalty. And we must not, of course, miss the great artistic opportunity of all to get some gratuitous sex into the proceedings. Art, of course, can simply fulfill what aesthetic needs. You want a nice, unchallenging picture above the fireplace in the living room? No problem, the Impressionists can help you there. Until the Impressionists get strange, that is. But there will always be art that makes us feel cosy. Nicely painted, nicely expensive, nicely unremarkable. But let's get back to the real action and the power brokers of the world, busy using art to underpin their belief in their own godlike importance. I'm sure you know who this happy chappy is. Hitler certainly knew how to use the power of art to manipulate the masses. However, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, something changed in the world of art. Artists became increasingly funded and collected by newly rich industrialists who didn't have the time or desire to specify what artists actually said about their work. And so the modern idea of the independent artist as free thinker was born, and a truer expression of personal vision took hold. Artists entered visual and imaginative territories uncharted before. Like all great experiments, not all stood the test of time. But when they did so in spades. And they changed the way that we see the world forever. Ironic social comment became the order of the day, and art became a constant driver of our perceptions of the changing modern world. Art today has become a social and cultural spectator sport, in equal terms evoking media outrage or an extraordinary social embrace, a polarization between grand and empty gestures. And so to the ultimate conceptual representation of our modern culture, media attention as art, as so accurately predicted by Andy Warhol 50 years ago. But art's audacity can still leave us speechless and in awe. So to sum up art then, here's what Pablo Picasso had to say on the subject. The purpose of art is to wash the dust of daily life off our souls. Right, so I think we can all agree that art is capable of a pretty powerful communication. So how can this help make Guernsey the best place to live in the world? We were here and we meant something. Simply by making your extraordinary mark. So let's explore some extraordinary marks. Anyone know where this is? Rio de Janeiro. It's the statue of Christ's Redeemer above Rio de Janeiro by Paul Landowski. I'm not even going to ask you where this is. Any takers for this one? Copenhagen. The Little Mermaid in the Bay of Copenhagen by Edvard Eriksson. And this one? Anthony Gormley's Angel of the North in Gateshead. Okay, this is strictly architecture, but I think when you think of Sydney, I bet you think of this. Any takers for this one? No? It's the Divers Dubai. They're full-size sculptures of men forever plunging over a streaming waterfall. It's pretty impressive. I've seen it for real, and it's pretty amazing. Anthony Gormley again. An extraordinary moving artwork on the beaches of the Mersey estuary. We can even make our marks underwater. This is Christ of the Abyss by Gido Galeotti, 17 metres below the surface of the Mediterranean in Italy. This is part of the Underwater Sculpture Park by Jason DeCaires Taylor in Grenada. And finally, a very moving mark still in progress. Jonas Dahlberg's powerful memorial to those who died on the island of Utøya in 2011 in Norway. A breathtaking void in the island. All these marks I've shown you epitomise the place that they are and talk to us, they speak to us. They do what all great art should do, wash away the dust of our everyday existence and sing to us with a grand message of hope. They inspire awe in us and make a powerful statement to the world about their home. So, what do most people think, who don't know Guernsey, think about Guernsey? And I'm probably going to get some strong reactions to this one. I should say here and now that there is no intention to insult you lovely people. But the fact that you might feel, as Guernsey men and women, that this is a simplistic exaggeration says a lot about how you feel about how you would rather be perceived by the world. But in my experience, outside the island, this is pretty much true. So what can we do to make the story that is Guernsey live forever? Your rich heritage tells the story of an extraordinary place. A place of great beauty, a place of valorous, independent souls who for hundreds of years have braved the elements, invaders, smugglers, shipwrecks, occupation and banking to build an amazing micro-society that is the envy of the world. The great Victor Hugo knew this firsthand and immortalised the indomitable spirit of this place in his book Les Travailleurs de la Mer. Did I pronounce that right? I don't know. So to make a definitive mark, a mark that will go forward with the story of Guernsey out into the world and carry with it the essence of this island nation that's always punched well above its weight. Get together, put a serious budget aside. Launch an international competition to artists. Get the brief right, get the submissions judged by great art curators and shortlisted for the people of Guernsey to decide on a final icon. Do not fall into the trap of doing it by committee, by the way. It's a kiss of death. Hell, you even have a ready-made plinth to put it on. It will be seen by every single visitor travelling by sea to these remarkable waters. Imagine Guernsey personified by the world by a mark that makes it unique and extraordinary. It would have more power and longevity than 100 TV campaigns, I can tell you that much. I'll leave you the words of Victor Hugo. I dedicate this book to the rock of hospitality and liberty, to that portion of old Norman ground inhabited by the noble little nation of the sea, to the island of Guernsey, severe yet kind, my present asylum, perhaps my tomb. Thank you very much.